Hey, what up fam, it's Peyton here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going into episode 3, part 2. Part 1 of this type of thing. This is actually a reaction and a summary of a video that I just posted, which was Tim Bixby, CFO interview at Barclays. And it was a really good interview that talked about kind of how Lemonade Insurance is making money and kind of how they progressed throughout the year. So this video is kind of a reaction to that video. Before you want to maybe go into the summary and kind of take my bias, you can go watch that video real quick. I'll put it down in the link up top and also down below. But without further ado, let's get into the summary right now. All right, first point in terms of Lemonade Insurance and what he kind of talked about, and it was actually very aligned with Daniel as well as Shai. He was talking about the cultural and then also the geographic regions. Geographic regions has specific cultures, and it's really cool that they've been adjusting based on what that geographic region is needed. I think it was one of the things that they mentioned was in Germany, where they had to say hello and what's your name at the end of the Lemonade Insurance based on like the kind of signing up process. Because United States, we don't mind giving our name up forward, but at the same time, in terms of that cultural Germany and things, it's at the end. So I thought that was actually pretty cool in how they're adjusting and how they're kind of turning the dial based on the specific areas that they're in. Next thing too is their way that they are doing launches. They don't actually have to have boots on the ground. And by what I mean by boots on the ground means that they don't have to actually have a physical location in that area to cover insurance. So their two biggest, or 2 out of the 3 largest insurance that they provide is in California and then Texas. And they actually don't have any offices or any type of physical people there, which is kind of crazy. And France, which they just got approved of, also doesn't have a physical footprint, which is really cool to see, and also makes them scale a lot faster and grow a lot faster than other companies. We'll see if that's going to turn to a negative later, but right now I think that's a positive. If you think that's a negative, write it down in the comments below. All right, point number 2 is actually my own type of fault. I don't know what LTV is and CAC, and this is kind of a learning process in terms of finding out like economics, not doing a degree. So for people that are confused on what LTV is and CAC because they kind of used acronyms and never actually explained it, LTV is lifetime value, sometimes referred to as a customer lifetime value. It's the average revenue of a single customer is predicted to generate over the duration of their account. And then customer acquisition cost, CAC, is the average expense of gaining a single customer. So the amount of money that you are spending to be able to acquire a customer, and then the lifetime value of how much will that specific customer produce over their specific lifetime. And it actually works out pretty well for insurance because some of your customers are going to last quite a while. And if you do it correctly, you're going to be able to do it for their whole life. But I do have to say that their LTV, I think that Tim was saying that is their lifetime value to CAC is like 3+ years, and they want to bring it down to 2. I could be wrong there. I just watched the video, so I'm a little upset at myself that I forgot that already. But I think it's 2 years that they want to get down to. So after 2 years, that is a break-even cost, and then it starts becoming profitable after that. So that's point number 2. Their lifetime value, as well as their customer acquisition cost. They're hoping that the customer at least stays in for 2 years, then to be able to be profitable after that. So when you start seeing numbers in terms of Lemonade Insurance and how they're doing on their quarterlies, you want to kind of keep in the back of your head. You want to kind of think of 2, maybe 3 years ahead, and how are they going to be profitable, and keep that into account for investing into the stock. All right, next, Tim Bixby actually talked about the kind of churn and how Lemonade Insurance is losing customers. Their first point, which I think is a very good one, is big data. And the more big data that they have, the more accurate that they can collect the data points. And I think Tim said like 1,700 data points, which is just astronomical from the insurance company owning like 30 to 40 data points on a specific person. So if Lemonade Insurance really does get 1,700 data points on a specific person, then like they're going to have a huge data and AI advantage over all the insurances, and will probably be their ace in the hole. That plays into finding out bad customers and good customers. And for when it comes to like bad customers not paying at the same time, that's when Lemonade's going to be like, hey, it's time to let you go, versus like rewarding good customers. Next is that they have a younger generation in terms of like their customer base, and that works good and bad. Let's just talk about the bad right now because the good comes a little later. The bad is that younger people usually travel a lot more and kind of just have these huge life events that might just be like, for example, you get married, you fall into like your husband's or your wife's type of insurance, and let's say that they don't have Lemonade insurance, they have USAA because they want a package auto. It's one of those things that like, okay, you just lost a customer and you lost that LTV and CAC that we just mentioned about. So that's a bad, but also when it comes to good, you know, if that renter becomes a condo owner and all that kind of stuff, that cost of an acquisition or cost of acquisition cost is relatively zero and you increase the premium. So that's good. Next type of section that Tim talked about and covered was reinsurance. And I'm actually not too confident about reinsurance because I'm still kind of going into depth on what it's even about. But from a broad overview for people that don't understand reinsurance is that insurance companies actually have insurance companies to mitigate risk. And how the pay structure actually works for Lemonade Insurance is that before a dollar comes into the 25 to 75% that they're broken down into their pay structure, so 25% goes to Lemonade Insurance and 75% goes into reinsurance, there's actually a level above that which kind of takes some points off of profit, which is to cover like catastrophic events. I do not know the percentage of that, and he didn't mention that. When it comes to the other 75%, goes to paying claims as well as other reinsurance companies to mitigate the risk of Lemonade Insurance having to pay all those claims. So how it worked out in the past is that by the end of 3 years, which is the contract that they made with other reinsurance companies, they either broke even or made that company profitable, which is really cool. And 2 companies actually re-upped their 3-year contract with Lemonade Insurance, and actually really liked the confidence that Tim exuded on this specific point. Was that he actually came out and said like, hey, with the 3-year contracts that we signed up for reinsurers, we got what we wanted in terms of Lemonade Insurance. And for the people that didn't want to do the 3-year contract or didn't want to like do all the points that Lemonade wants and the profits and all that kind of stuff and to negotiate, they were like, hey, let's do a 1 year and let's renegotiate next year, which kind of shows that the management team is confident of Lemonade Insurance and what they're wanting to move to. So I thought that was really cool. And that was it for like reinsurance because, again, I want to go more into reinsurance. I just don't understand it enough to knowledgeably talk about it. All right, next, Tim actually talked about loss ratio. And this was actually a pretty great insight because I think I misspoke on a video or 2 before, is their loss ratio is actually down to like 60-something% now. So loss ratio, for people that don't understand, is in the insurance industry representing the ratio of losses to premiums earned. So when it comes to like an example, let's say that Lemonade Insurance somebody pays Lemonade Insurance $100 of premium. Their loss ratio is, let's say, 50%. That means that Lemonade Insurance only pays out $50 in terms of claims. So the loss ratio, you want it to be low. And in 2 years ago or a year ago, like their loss ratio was upwards of like 80-something%. So that means that they were losing 80% of that $100 every single time that people paid premium, which is not good. You want it to keep on going down, and that's what Lemonade Insurance is showing to us. So that's a bull case. All right, these next 3 points I think are like the biggest bull cases. Like for people that come to talk to me and they don't know this, or if like they're a bear and they're coming to talk to me and they have no clue about this, I think they're completely misled. Number 1 is that they collect like 1,700 data points. So Lemonade Insurance is built on like a digital substrate. So the more that data feeds into the AI and algorithms, the more efficient and the more lean Lemonade Insurance becomes. And when it comes to collecting data points, 1,700 data points per person as they sign up, I think is kind of crazy. And I don't know how they do it, to be honest. And I want to know how they do it. But I know that's probably like privacy and secrecy wise, but I need to figure out what they do. That being said, the more people they get to join Lemonade Insurance, the more data they become, the more efficient they become, the more algorithms become more stronger. Just how like YouTube and Facebook and all these big tech companies, the more data that was fed into them, the more stronger they became because the algorithms were working in the background, in the back end, to actually become the huge big tech companies that we see now. Next is the funnel. I think their funnel is like phenomenal. When it comes to like renters, right, you get them at the lowest friction possible, like $60 a year or like $60 a month. I forget how much, I think it's $60 a year. And then you get them like super early in their life. So like say, for example, me, I go to college at 18, 19 years old. I get Lemonade insurance for $60 a year. And then I go and progressively get into a larger rental property when I get engaged and then get married. Like we go buy a condo, then we buy into homeowners insurance. And then it just kind of grows with us. And that's what they're doing. And you have to think too on how they're bundling and why they led to pets. So, they could have chosen any other type of product, but they chose pet insurance. It's because they understand the like millennials and Gen Zers. Millennials and Gen Zers are getting married later in life. I am different in that area, but at the same time, they're getting married at like 30, 35. And so that means that they're probably going to have like pets before that and all that kind of stuff. And so they see their specific target audience and they're like, okay, they go into renters and then they go into pet insurance and then they go in to get a condo. So they're trying to squeeze as much money out of their specific target audience as they can. And I think it's brilliant. Okay. And the last point is the specific machine learning and facial recognition. I already kind of talked about this, but there was an example that he talked about was like, there was this person that was doing the video and facial recognition, and they wore like 3 different types of things to try to trick the algorithm. But at the same time, it got caught and then it was produced as fraud. And this is something that was really cool in terms of like the fraud is like their operating margins, right? Claims are paid 33%, 30% of claims are paid with like AI. That's the operating margin. That's completely free. So once that code is actually developed, it's free to actually use that service. And as that increases, the more operating margin becomes higher. That being said too, if it actually has some human interaction, and this is what Tim actually alluded to in his talk, if a human actually comes into play for doing a claim process, a lot of the AI and the algorithms did majority of the work. So instead of a person starting from step 1 and asking all these questions, they have all the way up to like step 5. All the questions are answered, has videos, has all the Q&As that the AI did, and now a human's looking at it and saying, okay, this is what we need to do. So it's a lot faster and a lot lean, so it reduces the time on a specific person. So they pay claims, majority of the claims are paid within 24 hours, and then some special cases are longer, of course. But I think that's a huge win and also reduces the amount of manpower that is required to pay claims, even before the algorithms. So I think it's really cool. And that is a huge bull case. And those are my 3 bull cases. And I think those 3 are strong enough for me to become more bullish every single day on Lemonade Insurance and to see how they execute. But that's it. That's all this video is about. And hopefully I was a little unbiased, but I'm pretty sure I'm biased because I'm starting to become more bullish on Lemonade. But please, if you see any type of tripwire or anything like that, please let me know. Engage me in the comments. I would love to talk to you. Hit me up on Instagram. Hit me up on Facebook. Don't have a Twitter account. But at the same time, I think it's really cool. Lemonade Insurance, building a very good, strong case for that. All right. Love you guys. Bye.